Northern Hemisphere people, they're going into winter and they want to make 2025 their best year ever on the bike. They're going to dial back the intensity on the bike and they're going to do some base training for the next 12 weeks on the bike, low intensity. What else could they do to make sure 2025 is going to be a big one?
Look, if they're not already doing it, then I would say that's a perfect window to incorporate strength training as an adjunct to the bike training. The reason it's the perfect window is because the intensity on the bike's not super high.
Yep.
So you're not impacting subsequent sessions on the bike by doing resistance training because the intensity is down on the bike. So,
is there any good research that suggests that strength is going to help me improve though, strength training on the bike?
There's some fantastic research and longitudinal as well over several weeks and months. Some early research by Ronestad in 2010 and 2011, and then a replication of that research methodology recently in 2024 by Sitco and their research team have highlighted that simply through 2 strength training sessions per week,
yep,
2 exercises focusing on some large multi-joint lower body exercises in the form of squat and leg press.
Yep.
You're doing those at approximately an 80% intensity of effort with respect to the weight you're selecting. Over a 12-week period, you can expect performance increases on the bike of ballpark 5% on not just your sprint performance metrics, but your time trial and sort of aerobic endurance metrics, such as like a 20-minute time trial or a 60-minute all-out time trial. So
5% is big.
That is solid.
Yeah.
That is solid, and particularly if you're someone who's never done gym training before, you might even be north of that. So some people who are just like, they get all the, what do they call it, the noob gains?
Yeah.
Like first time doing, their body just adapts because it's just like, holy moly, and it just, everything just falls into place. I've seen some insane numbers with respect to effects of strength training on like a performance metric.
Yep.
I had a sprinter recently, actually, we got a 22% improvement in performance through 6 months of strength training, which I was not expecting at all.
And that's elite level.
Yeah, but noob gains, she'd never done gym before. So 5% is the number I'm happy to report for you guys, but you could be north of that.
Yeah, wow.
And so how would that look over that sort of 12-week base block with gym? I would say 2 to 3 gym sessions per week. At least 2 lower body exercises in there that are what we call multi-joint, meaning like the ankle, knee, and hip are involved in the exercise. So spoiler alert, it's going to be like squats, deadlifts, lunges, step-ups, sled pushes, leg press if I haven't already said that one.
Yep.
Okay, so there are some really good exercises to use as like, these are my performance exercises. I need to do at least 2 of them. Intensity we're training at, to recap, 80% of 1 RM. Or 1 repetition maximum.
We've made a video about this already, which we can link to
link
below.
in the below on how to identify what that is. Now, in terms of the sets and reps on your exercises for the lower body, be fluid with that, but what I would suggest is through the lower body, you want to accumulate in each workout 16 to 30 repetitions as a minimum. So I'll give you an example. If on the squat, you did 3 sets of 5, and the leg press, you did 3 sets of 5, we've accumulated 15 reps in total on each of those exercises. Add them together, that's 30 repetitions. So you're operating in that minimum effective range that I'm suggesting you need to accumulate. Again, that's 16 to 30 repetitions across your lower body exercises at the 80% of 1 RM. And I would also say, please don't take your sets to failure. If you go to failure, it's going to increase the recovery time post-workout, but you can get the same strength and performance benefits if you don't take it to that failure point in your set. Now, how much rest between the exercises? Between 2 minutes and 3 minutes rest between, each set of your exercises. If the exercise is quite complex, like a deadlift or a squat, I'd say push that rest period between sets to 3 minutes, just for safety. Yep. Now, you can really benefit from some core training in your workouts. Core supports what you're doing with the strength stuff by increasing stability around major joints in the body, in particular the trunk and around the hips. But it is fantastic core for helping manage and moderate fatigue that occurs in your lower body during cycling, which can lead to detrimental pedaling technique when we're fatigued. So around the hips, for example. So I would suggest at least 2 core exercises per workout as well. Put them at the end of your session. Pick your favorites, but if you want some favorites from me, look, single leg bridges I love for cycling athletes because it's core and glute complex. I love my side planks and my side leg raises. But again, team, most core exercises are going to hit a lot of that stuff. So pick your faves. Don't take your sets to failure. And it will benefit you in the long run of meaning that when you're under fatigue conditions on the bike, you will still be able to keep a clean pedaling technique that will not increase your risk of injury. Because we know fatigue, over technique, it can get sloppy, and that can be a precursor to knee pain or knee discomfort in cycling athletes.
Okay, interesting. And you said 2 gym sessions a week. Are you doing the same gym session, or are you mixing it up? What would you recommend?
If you were going to go letter of the law by research,
Yep.
it is the same gym session
Okay.
each week.
Could you do 3 gym sessions then? Because that's...
Yeah, look, 3 if you can fit it in that base block, it would be more advantageous than the 2.
Okay.
Because research by Gergich, I think, and colleagues, I think it was 2018, he produced this paper, is like if you can get a few more sets in through your week on your strength intensity, which is 80% of 1RM, you will get a better strength benefit from it.
Okay.
So if you can bring that 3rd gym session in without it being too detrimental,
Yep.
great. But full transparency, research operates off 2 gyms per week.
Okay.
But the 3rd would be beneficial. Yes, you should be doing the same exercise. And the reason is your body needs to adapt. And to adapt, it needs a constant stimulus that it can start getting used to. If every gym workout is completely different to the last one, it's going to take you longer to adapt if you've introduced too much novelty into the workout. Now, does that mean you won't get any strength benefits? No, of course not. Like
Yes.
you could do different workouts 3 days a week and then do that for 12 weeks. Yes, you're going to get a performance benefit out of it. All I can say is like from the research, they tend to do a more consistent workout and that gets you the benefit transfer to your cycling, which is about 5% improvement across aerobic and sprint metrics we expect off a 12-week training block. So team, I'll tell you my approach, I do a hybrid approach. So I don't bore the athlete to death.
Yes. Yeah.
Is I'll have my staples that I try to keep the same.
Okay.
So it might be, okay, I always want squats in my strength workouts for 2 or 3 days in a week.
Yep.
But then I'll create a little bit of variability on the other stuff. It might be, okay, on one of the days we'll also do a deadlift, but on the other day, maybe instead of the deadlift, we do the leg press.
Okay.
And then on the other day, instead of doing the leg press, maybe do a heavy sled push. But the squat is still the consistent one across there. So it's bending the rules a little bit from the research, but I found it to be quite effective with the athletes
But there's
I work with.
practicality in it.
There's
It's coming
practicality
from-
to it. And then my core stuff, I will have variability in that as well.
Okay.
I'll mix it up again, because a workout can be good, but if the athlete's getting bored of it and stops coming, now it's no longer a good workout. So I pick my battles, so I do a hybrid model. So there's the full transparency team. Take it as you may, and best of luck with that 12-week strength block with those recommendations.
Yeah, so one more question then, because I know a lot of people get to the end of the 12 weeks and they go, all right, I built up all this strength in the gym, and now I'm going to go do the bunch rides and high intensity. I'm going to get fitter than I've ever been before on the bike, and then they just drop gym altogether because they can't squeeze it in. What's that going to do, and how can they manage that better?
It's tough. Depending on their age, they might be able to hang on to those strength benefits for possibly 4 to 6 weeks without doing any gym, but it will eventually drop off. We know sort of younger athletes, particularly younger males, high testosterone levels, they can hang on to their strength a little bit longer without doing gym, but it does eventually drop
Damn
off.
those people.
So look, they can sort of dodge that bullet a bit, but it will eventually come back to bite them. So what the recommendation is at the moment, this is coming from Ronestad's research as well back in the 2010s, who looked at some longitudinal studies with cycling athletes. And he found that when you finish a sort of 12-week strength block, like the one we discussed, when you then sort of go into a period where you're like, okay, now cycling's ramped up and maybe it's in season or a heavy competition period, they found that if you just do 1 gym per week, still operating in the recommendations that I've given around intensity and the rep accumulation, if you just do 1 a week, they found that that still maintains the strength improvements that you had for up to 13 weeks.
So pretty much a whole on season, close to.
Yeah, so team, use that. And look, if you're desperate and you love gym, you still want to get in for a second day, maybe it's just core.
Yep.
And just pick sort of 5 to 6 of your favorite core exercises. Don't train them to failure. And that'll keep that ticking along if you're concerned about losing any sort of fatigue resistance around the muscles in your hip and your trunk to help with your pedaling technique. So I do that with my athletes, but I'll always make that one optional. I'll say, hey, in season, we've got 1 gym we want you to get to, and an optional core if mentally you need it.
Yep.
But I'm always secretly happy when they don't.
Okay, yeah, cool.
Because there's periods when they're under high load.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't be detrimental. And so that would be my recommendation. And you use the example of, hey, they've got some high intensity stuff in there. Don't do the gym the day before those high intensity sessions. You want ideally the day after that gym, because it's still heavy, even though you're not training to failure, it's still at least 80% of 1 repetition maximum intensity.
Yep.
Next day, maybe it's a zone 2.
Yep.
maybe it's a day off, maybe it's a Rico roll to the coffee shop, is my recommendation. So see how you go with that and sort of planning your week. It would be better in the long run.
It does become a difficult thing to do, to put that gym session. We actually made a full video on this. I don't know if you remember. So maybe use your left hand and point up there. Yeah. The video is popping up there if people want a deep dive. So that's really great. So Aaron, if somebody's watching this and they're now super motivated, all right, I'm gonna give gym a go over the winter period in the Northern Hemisphere. You put together some programs for us at the RCA?
Yeah, team. I've created a beginner, intermediate, and advanced 16-week training plan for strength training. If you are wanting to use that benefit that strength does with respect to cycling performance, which, as I said, with your expectations, at least 5% improvement in sprint and aerobic metrics such as a time trial. So they're available on RCA. There's a link in the description below. And in terms of like what's in them, it's the evidence-based approach. So it's not just me coming up with random opinions. I base that purely off the research, similar to what I've discussed today, but a bit deeper dive, because I was creating it for Cam and it was going to be the world's best. So suss it out if you're unsure on where to start.
Thanks. Appreciate your time, mate.
Thank you.